welcome back once again to the Imaginary Gallery. It is TJ, your host. We are on the 4th video on the making of an abusive man. The next section in the trusty Lundy Bancroft book, Why Does He Do That? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men, is pornographic videos, magazines, and websites are learning grounds. Mr. Bancroft starts off this section by telling us that as a boy enters his teen years, he's likely to encounter another powerful shaper of his outlook on the ladies and how he should be treating them. Most pornographic movies, magazines, and websites can actually serve as training manuals for abusers, whether they intend to or not. They teach that ladies are unworthy of any kind of respect and are valuable only for sex purposes for men. The Internet's made access to pornography much easier and free for teenage boys. He mentions a recent study that states 1 in 4 teenage boys has experienced exposure to unwanted, filthy material, most commonly through internet solicitation. He also states that a great deal of mainstream material like this, not just so-called hardcore, contains stories and images showing the abuse of children as well as women as being sexy, and sometimes even showing rape as being erotic. He says that teens watching such things may be harmed. He's saying that harm has very little to do with the explicitness and has everything to do with the attitudes expressed in these media. The attitudes that it teaches towards women, relationships, sexual assault, and abuse. He then suggests that you spend some time looking at some pornography yourself if you can stand it, and then think about the messages that it may be sending to young children, especially young boys. Bancroft said that he learned about a recent case in an upper-class suburb involving a group of middle school-aged boys who were in the habit of spending many hours after school watching adult material on their computers. One day, they went from that activity to a party where they then ended up pressuring several girls who were at the average age of 12 into performing group oral blank on them, inspired by something they had seen on the websites they were looking at. Parents found out about what happened, and there was a scandal. However, the community still did not seem to recognize the critical influence of the images to which the boys were being exposed. Boys often learn that they're not responsible for the actions. Boys' aggressiveness is increasingly being treated as a medical problem, particularly in school. It's a trend that has led to the diagnosing and medicating of boys whose problem may really be that they have been traumatized and influenced by exposure to violence and abuse in their homes. Treating the boys as if they have a chemical problem not only overlooks the distress that they are in, but it also reinforces the belief that they may be out of control, or they may be sick, rather than helping them to recognize that they are simply making poor choices based on destructive values. Bancroft says he has sometimes heard adults telling girls they should be flattered by the aggressive behaviors of boys because that means they really like you. This is an approach that prepares both boys and girls to confuse love with abuse and socializes the girls to feel like they are helpless. In many instances of bullying and school violence, including highly publicized school murders such as Columbine, reporters have overlooked the gender issues. Headlines describe these events as just kids killing kids, when close to 100% of them have involved boys killing kids. In some cases, it's been revealed that the killings were related to boys' hostility towards the ladies, including one case in which the 2 boys who went on a murderous rampage said afterwards that they had done it because they were very angry that their girlfriends had broken up with them. but the urgent need to confront the anti-female attitudes among these boys was never mentioned as a strategy for preventing any kind of future school violence. When culture and home experience dovetail, each reinforces the other. If a little boy grows up in a home where his mother's being abused, hearing a song like Eminem's Kim could create a deep imprint in him. He may feel by hearing such a song that the society is giving its public stamp of approval to the mistreatment of women that he's seen at home. The likelihood that he will blame his mother for what happens to her and begin to copy the abuser's behavior increases with each pro-abuse message that he absorbs from his surroundings. Bancroft says that his counseling experience persuades him that the men who are most likely to grow up to abuse women are probably those who grow up with an abuser as an important role model, or who also get especially heavy doses of destructive cultural training. Also be aware, half or more of his clients do not come from homes in which a man modeled abuse of women. The cultural influences that he's discussed above are sufficient in themselves to prepare a boy to become an abusive man. It is therefore essential to teach boys to respect women and think critically about the societal messages to which they become exposed. Many sons of abused ladies, whom Bancroft is known, including police officers, therapists, writers, and activists, have dedicated their lives to opposing the abuse of the lady. The example set by these men shows that a boy's family influences are only the beginning of the story, and that he can make the choice to channel his childhood distress into constructive action if he learns about alternative ways of thinking and acting. Then Bancroft says we should return to our growing boy. From a combination of different cultural influences, this little boy develops an image of his future, which he carries within him. He pictures ladies who are beautiful, alluring, and focused entirely on meeting his needs and his needs only. One who has no needs of her own that might require any kind of sacrifice or effort on his part, she will belong to him and cater to him, and he'll be free to disrespect her whenever he wants. In his mind, this picture may illustrate the word partner, but a more accurate word for the image he is developing might be servant. When this boy gets involved in actual, as opposed to imaginary, dating, especially as he reaches the age where his relationships become more serious, his childhood fantasy life collides with the real-life young woman he's seeing. She defies him on occasion. She has other people in her life who seem to be more important to her rather than making him her only focus. She demands time from him every so often, and that he take an interest in her as a person. She doesn't always accept his opinions as accurate and superior to hers. She may even try at some point to break up with him. Above it all, he feels that his rights are the ones being denied, as if she were not his personal possession. The boy doesn't believe that he's demanding anything unreasonable. He only seeks what he considers to be what he is due. In fact, our young man feels like he gives his girlfriend more freedom than a lot of other guys do, just as the boy in the beginning story from a video or two ago, allowing the public picnic area on his land. Like the boy's reaction to the trespassers, he becomes increasingly frustrated, coercive, and erratic as he tries to regain control over his partner. His first sexual experiences are likely to be the result of his pressuring a girl steadily till she finally gives in, so that sexual coercion becomes one of his earliest relationship habits. He may even start to appear to be mentally ill, as did the man who began firing bullets around the hikers. In fact, his behavior is largely logical and rational given what his key societal influences have led him to believe, which is precisely the attitude of almost all of Bancroft's clients when they begin his program. The abusive man feels cheated, ripped off, and wronged because his sense of entitlement is so badly distorting his perceptions of right and wrong. In summary, an abusive person can be thought of not as a man who is a deviant, but rather as one who learned his society's lessons too well, swallowing them whole. He followed them too carefully, the signposts his culture put out for him, marking the path to manhood, at least with respect to relationships with the ladies.
The Narcopath. and Happy New Year to you.
You know what I sometimes do? I sometimes go backward in time and back to some of the ones that I left hanging without any explanation.
The ones who wanted what they called closure, which I don't believe in. I need to keep every end open, but certain ends I gotta close, and yours is one of them. So you don't have to worry about me coming back to you looking for anything, because quite frankly, you learn just a little bit too much about me. It kind of ruins my game, makes it so I can't get away with anything, and that's no good for me. I need somebody who's going to believe this stuff I say. It's not going to work with you, so I can go ahead and tell you. Plus, another reason it's not going to work with you is because you had the nerve to smear my name after you found out about those other people I was with. Now, who cares I was with other people? You had no right to tell the new guy I was seeing that I had cheated on you. That is out of place. How dare I just told him you were crazy, delusional, and that you were the one who cheated because I didn't know how to deal with that. I had this one convinced I was a virgin, so there's no way I could have cheated. What, I do, kiss ya? I don't think so. He didn't last either. But again, it's a new year.
And another dirty trick you pulled on me. You followed me one afternoon. You realized that I was
dancing on tables topless at the Shady Lady on Sundays when I told you I was at a church study program, and you had the nerve to spy on me without my knowledge, evidently, and you had the nerve to go in there and bury your nose in between at least 6 candy cantaloupe chicks there. And of course you had to pick the ones with bigger teeth than mine, just to show me, And when I started to get mad and protest, revealed how you found out that I was dancing at the Shady Lady. You then, and I tried to bluff and say, you're crazy, that's ridiculous. And then you had the nerve to reach into your briefcase and present pictures of my Virginia in 6 Asian men's noses, with those still sticking out of my D-string. And my latest hairdo, I was going to try to say, oh, that was 10 years ago, but 10 years ago I wasn't as glamorous. Another reason you're not going to work out. I'm the one who's allowed to do things like that, but you're not. And you had the nerve to trick me. Who do you think you are? You're never going to last with anyone. Face it.
I am the Narcopath.
And you're not.